Hey all, it's Jesse again. I wanted to make another video, a little bit sooner than I was originally imagining, simply because I was going through other pieces that I had written and realized that I really want to focus on the subject of bullying because it's obviously a subject that I'm personally passionate about, in bringing awareness to, all of that. Um, Now, before I read this one, I do need to give it a little bit of an introduction. Um, this piece, first of all, is really, I don't know if you could call it a poem, prose poetry, I'm not entirely sure. I write very poetically, so it may sound like a poem as I'm reading it. Performing it, whatever you want, whatever word you want to use for this. Not like truly performing as I might have with the last one. Um, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Anyway, for the introduction for this piece, a couple of years ago, yeah, I guess 2 years ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago. I was going to Glendale Community College, here in Glendale, Arizona. Um, well, I'm not personally in Glendale right now, but within Arizona. Anyway, um, I was going to GCC, and the um, drama department was putting on a play called Hello Herman. If you've never heard of this play, I definitely recommend checking it out. Both like videos of other schools, productions, companies, whatever, putting it on, or even just checking out the script, um, or even checking out the movie that was made right about the time that GCC decided to put a production on for this. The production that we had, or the production that GCC had put on for it, was part of like a series of productions that our school and other schools were doing, because we were trying to get it, get awareness out for the piece, because it's a very, very strong, powerful piece talking about a very controversial subject. Um, it's about a school shooting, but it doesn't specify directly. Well, let me take that back. It goes into various scenes um, during the shooting, and people's reactions and on it, but it's less about that and more about the fact that, or more about the everything else involved with it, about like violence, treating people nicer, like it has various subjects that other people have brought up during real life school shootings, such as gun violence, like regulation of guns and whether they should be regulated or not. Um, there are a couple of like protest scenes within it. Um, Other things were about like video games and how they affect kids and their take on violence or how they feel on violence. But it was also um, delving into various just subjects in relation to violence and what causes someone to go to that level. Not giving justification for it per se, because no justification can be given for anyone killing anyone. Um, I think the only exception would be like defending yourself, and it just happens while defending yourself. That's understandable. Anyway, um, but back to the violence thing. Um, It talked about the main character Herman's story about like losing his sister, about um, like being bullied within school, and it had a huge focus on that. The character that interviews Herman, because it's very much like an interview kind of sort of thing. Um, it talks about his backstory and a report that he had done or investigation that he had done, and some things that he wasn't too happy about and regretted for obvious reasons if you see the piece or read it or anything like that. But yeah. So, as part of the production that GCC had put on, the director, Mark Stoddard, had decided to, like, after every performance, have like a talk back with the audience because it's a very, like I said, controversial performance, and thus includes a lot of major topics that people may not be expecting to be thrown into their face, like as they walk into the door to watch this show. So he decided to do a talkback, which I thought was freaking awesome, and was very enjoyable to watch every night. I wasn't personally in the show. I decided to involve myself in other ways because it was a subject that I really wanted to be part of in some way, shape, or form. And one of the nights for the talkback, Stoddard brought me up. Um, Mr. Stoddard, Professor Stoddard, sorry about that, brought me up to perform the poem that I had performed in the last video. Um, when I had performed it was before a lot of the editing took place. Editing the video took place. So it still had the title of You, but anyway, it was the very first time that I actually performed the piece, and right after performing it, um, I had to take a step back, um, and I actually cried when I performed that. Um, for obvious reasons, it's a subject that hits close to home because it is my story. Um, but like it was the first time that I was actually able to get back into the emotions or like delve them up. As I said in the last videos, and largely due to um, some help by listening to various songs. The one in particular being by Eminem featuring Lil Wayne called "No Love." Again, I mentioned that in the last video. But during one of the other talkbacks for this, during the production, a like Mr. Stoddard decided to bring someone who I believe worked with the school. I can't fully remember, or maybe the school district. Um, and she basically talked about how there are certain ways that there are certain programs that are offered to be able to try to help the situation while it's going on. Like if anyone gets bullied, hate, or deals with any kind of tormenting on that level in school, some of the options including counseling and stated anonymity. I totally just butchered that word. Anyway, anonymous way about doing things. Anonymity. Anyway, I give up. Um, So yeah, she had come in and done her thing, and the entire cast, or at least a good part of it, and myself, um, asked her questions because we had been more involved in being actually bullied. So some of the options that she stated were available seemed contradictory, seemed difficult for us to understand, seemed like things that we didn't think would help, and we pretty much knew wouldn't help, based on our personal experiences. Um, well, like, it kind of riled all the few of us up, and right after that talk back, when I got home that night, I ended up sitting down and writing this piece because I felt it needed to be said. I felt it needed to be written down, on paper. I then showed the entire cast. Thankfully, they, and um, I'm humbled to say that they really enjoyed the piece, and uh, touched home with them as well. So it was pretty cool. Um, but I don't have a title for this piece. I've never done any editing, on this piece. If I ever choose to publish it, um, I'll probably do editing at that time, or leading up to, rather. Um, but yeah, here's the poem. Let me get right down to it. After now 12 minutes of just kind of talking and um, giving this lead up kind of story for this, but really hope you enjoy it. But yeah, here it is. Um, Untitled. Hello, my name is Jesse, also known through my life as Fatso, Nerd, Teacher's Pet, Freak, Wimp, Snitch, and Tattletale. Also, I'd like to introduce you to a few people who themselves have survived years of bullying, emotionally, physically, and verbally. Have you personally ever been bullied or experienced any school violence? Have you ever been made fun of for your weight, and when you tried to fix it, you made a step forward and then, as the bullying continued, two steps back? Because outside your parents who were unable to help you, the only comfort you had was the food that caused you to become overweight? Have you ever tried going to a teacher or had a parent go to a teacher? Have you experienced what happens when you do? The counseling, the fact it's never anonymous, how no matter how hard you try to make it better, it just gets worse? Are you willing to spend a day in the shoes I had to wear for 13 years, going to school at the age of 5 to just learn and make friends and instead get tormented by people who didn't know any other way how to treat people, get treated like you're a loser, and then get ignored by almost everyone else? And then finally being able to go home and escape it all, try to be happy, and talk to your parents about it all, and then cry to yourself, bleh, and then cry yourself to sleep every night? And then, after those 13 years, are you willing to deal with the fact that you don't know how to deal with the most natural social interaction without feeling uncomfortable, deal with the roller coaster of emotions that go along with depression, and then walk down the street with the constant feeling that people are watching you and judging you? You say, just wait. You'll be the boss of all of them when you grow up. Or, it's fine, you'll find friends, it just takes time. Or, do this and that and it'll end. Put on my shoes. You do all that bullshit. You try to just wait. You try to do this and that and then survive it all. Then, and only then, you can call yourself an expert. Because get until you go through the shit and change things for the better, you can go fuck yourself. For us all, we're experts in our own way because we all are able to stand up and help those who are being bullied while still being very awake and accepting of the fact that there's no clear answers to stopping it. In fact, there's no answer to a lot of questions regarding being bullied because every situation is unique. But at the end of the day, we're still standing here for when you need a shoulder to cry on, a hug when no one else will offer, a willingness to catch you as you're falling, and a hand up if you're unable to get up on your own. So yeah, that's it. Again, it was written about 2 years ago, right after. So a lot of anger was going on, a lot of needing to get it off my chest. So you probably saw that or heard that within the entire thing. Um, but yeah, a lot of flubs during that entire reading of the piece, but it's a piece that, again, hits home. I personally enjoy it despite the fact that um, a lot of anger was going on because as a piece is first written, the raw emotion is what a piece needs. Afterward, if you choose to edit it for publishing purposes, you then get into the more grammatical way, or if it's a poem or prose poem, as I often say, poets are very, very good with grammar and punctuation and know all the rules because we need to know just how to break them. Um, Other poets and writers may or may not agree with me on that, but I've personally thought it true, especially with my own poems and other pieces that I've read um, by some of my idols. But anyway, 2 years ago, so at the time I was having a lot of difficulties with social interactions. I have definitely gotten better, especially within the last year. But that's more personally about me, less about the subject of this video. Um, but yeah, take a step back, listen, or like pay attention to what I just stated within the poem, because all the programs out there, they may or may not help you, and for those that don't help you, or like the creators of those programs that think that they're going to help you, um, I need the creators to pay attention and realize the fact that it's not a foolproof situation, and even those accept that it's a foolproof situation also need to realize that um, the solution that you are giving is not always going to help, and a lot of times rarely going to help. And rather make things worse in a lot of the situations. The solution that like people really need to just pay attention to is just treat people a little nicer. If you are not a bully, but you do see someone else being bullied, you're not involved, you feel like you don't want to get involved because then you'll be bullied as well. I definitely understand where you're coming from there. My absolute best friend definitely felt that way growing up. So he didn't really do a whole lot. Other people, other friends of mine, people that I've known in the past, have also stated that they bullied as well, more as a result of them being bullied, and also like it's one of those things where it's like bully or be bullied. Like, no one wants to go through the emotion or the hurt. So some people will decide to just go on the other side of the spectrum in order to avoid it, and end up becoming more the bully. And that's not helpful at all, but at the same time, that's the sad part of it. But my point in bringing that up is for those that are the bully because they feel like they need to in order to avoid being hurt, or those that are standing on the side line, just kind of ignoring the situation because you don't want to be involved, you don't want to get hurt, whatever may be your reasoning or anything like that. I urge you to get off the sideline. Step in. Help those who are being bullied. We can't always change the way people think about one another, though we try. It's just not always a thing that we're going to be able to do. If you see someone getting hurt, if you know someone is getting hurt, stand up and help them out. United, or a people united, is much better and easier to deal with a problem than one person trying to deal with it. So if you feel like you're going to get hurt, or if you're going to go through the pain and whatever, stand up with a friend. Again, like, numbers matter, in the end of the day. If there's one bully or three bullies or five, stand up with more friends than them. Because at the end of the day, if you have more people standing up to do what's right, then it's going to have a better chance of things getting fixed. Just recently, I had an instance in work where a guy, as a result, unfortunately, of some anger that a coworker had stated, which coincidentally was as a result of the original guy stating something to him. It was completely random. Me and person B, because I don't want to use their name, were insanely surprised, and then person B responded to person A, and I personally thought that person B's response was over the top, and I tried to get in the middle, try to help out, or basically like a calm person B's response down, because it was like, it was kind of crazy. But me and person B thought person A's original statement was as a joke, so person B responded in a joking manner, but he's a much different kind of person, so his response, again, over the top. I had tried to step in, and person A decided to make some statements regarding my weight, that well, not just statements, basically verbally attacked me for my weight, which was completely uncalled for. It was insane that it actually happened at the time, but my point is, when that had happened, a friend of mine, or person B, stood up, and there were a couple of other coworkers that kind of heard the situation going on that also stood up, and person A kind of calmed down, the situation diffused itself, it hasn't happened again, but another coworker, person C, I'll say, came back the next day because he was gone that day, and then he ended up finding out about the situation, and he ended up talking to person A about what he had done. I didn't ask him to, he just decided to do it. Though I was very, very grateful for the fact that he cared enough to do it. He was one of those people that are exactly the person that I'm wanting or urging people to be, is the person who stands up for someone who's being bullied, who gets in the way or gets in the middle of the person getting bullied and the actual bully. Anyway, this video is getting kind of long. You probably don't want to sit here listening to me for a half hour. Maybe some of you do, which is cool. Thank you. Anyway, I guess I'll just cut it short now. I'll do more videos soon. Regarding bullying, regarding whatever subject I decide to put in here. I have a lot of poems to put into a video because I want to, just because one of the best ways that you can show a poem to people is by actually reading it. So yeah, I'll be doing that more. Time to wrap this up. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, to listen to what I'm saying. I hope that those who are currently involved in any similar situation think about what I said, about possibly getting involved, helping those who are being bullied, because again, it's the only thing that I can personally think of that's going to at least help the situation. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the poem. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, weekend, whatever. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.